I wish good things to you who's watching this. I am Alexey, and this is your session of Carcassonne After Dark, also known as Day 3 of Round 4 of the 2025 Carcassonne Champions League, where Hector Arce of Chile will be playing against the reigning runner-up, or last year's runner-up of the entire league, Vivien Charlot, with the screen name Viv. Normally, I would say that the Frenchman would be a favorite, and quite a big one, due to his experience and the higher peak rating and the status as the runner-up of the entire league. But you can see that for now, he has not been doing this well in this year. Possibly not the best tiles, possibly a little bit out of shape, who knows, but at the moment it is in fact Hector who is ahead in the tournament standings. This of course will change if the Frenchman manage to beat him today. So essentially this is the battle for the second place in the group and ultimately a playoff spot. So I need to remind you all that the top three qualify for the playoffs. Ilya Slonimsky of Israel will probably be first. He is currently undefeated with 3 victories in 3 matches. So the outcome of today's match would likely determine whether Viv gets a shot at the playoff this time. Well, the game appears to have started a while ago, even though it was supposed to start only a minute ago. Either the players are playing really fast, or they've decided to start really early. Hi, Amiras. So 36 tiles are remaining to play, which means that we're halfway through in the first game. I remind you all that this is a best of 3 series. So Tito, with black meeples and an extra point on the scoreboard, has a pretty good position. This looks really good for the Chilean. So first of all, he has a relatively dangerous city here. It most likely will not be completed, but it still could. And he has another city over here, which could very much get completed. But at the moment, Viv is the one completing cities. A red meeple for the Frenchman goes back into his hand. 7 extra points on the scoreboard. He also has a 5-point monastery at the top. These 2 monasteries cancel each other out. But the main reason why I prefer black's position here is the fact that red has already 1 meeple completely blocked for just 1 point. And black should be able to use it to his advantage, either by scoring points, or maybe finding a way to deploy a productive farmer somewhere. I note that an unusually low number of city cap tiles have been placed, which means that they all are still in the deck, which means that towards the end the game is going to be exploding in farmers and quick points and all these good things. And this stuff favors the side which has more meeples, which is Tito. Well, currently they're equal on meeples, but in the long term, it is definitely the Chilean who has more meeples. Black decides to play peaceful move, sacrifices 3 points. Not sure if I agree with that, but the idea of this move is just to try and put some pressure on this square. If you don't do nothing, then red has 3 tiles that fit here, 3 Dorito with row tiles that would complete red city and prolong black's road without completing it. Now red successfully defends, making sure that there's still 2 tiles that fit into the square and it's possible to complete that city. But for the price of 3 points, black has gained 3 things positionally. Gain number 1, if Viv completes this city, he will be also completing his road. So at least this black meeple will not be lost. Gain 2, now there are only 2 instead of 3 tiles that fit here to complete the city. And gain 3, this tile was used by Viv for defense instead of going over here and attacking the city at the bottom. And this gave Tito chances to cover up on his last move. And with this tile, with the Dorito tile that Viv drew, he was no longer able to attack the city at the bottom. So even though the Frenchman's now ahead 10 points and one more monastery, so I kind of start liking Red's position again, Black still has this threat at the bottom to get 16 points for the city and a meeple back, which would put him ahead again. High Glovier, High Nalleheim. My assumption would not be that they placed 40 tiles in 4 minutes. My assumption would be that they simply started the match earlier than the initially scheduled time. But who knows? I know that Viv generally is a fast player. Not as fast as somebody like Matej Tabak or Erwin Gall, but he's certainly up there. And he likes a lot to think during his opponent's thinking time. So he might be taking advantage of this, but not now. He's actually thinking for a few seconds what to do with this curve. Not an obvious move. He goes for the liberation of one of his monastery meeples. Gets even more ahead on the scoreboard. Tito seems to be working towards the completion of his other city on the left. A doable task. If he started with this idea, probably he wants to go over here and score 2 points again for this little road, and this is exactly what happens. The downside of that move is that it exposes this square and creates an opportunity for Viv to go over here with something like a simple curve and create a restriction. However, this would not be that dangerous. First of all, Tito has multiple dagger tiles available to him. One, of course, he needs to this square, but 2 more tiles he could draw to fill in this square. And second, of course, who said that Viv would be able to block this in time? He's able to cover up his city on the left super nicely. There's still 3 Doritos or 2 splitters that fit into this tile. There's still 3 dagger tiles that fit here. So in all likelihood, the Chilean will be completing a sizable 24-point city on the left. And even though the Frenchman managed to successfully attack and almost share the city at the bottom, even if that were to happen, it's no big deal because the city on the left should give Tito the advantage in the long term. Moreover, now that the last extender has been drawn, it is much harder for Red to actually complete the connection. There's only 1 tile remaining to do so, and this is, of course, the cow tile, the triple city with a field. So Tito's trying to anticipate that and make sure to maybe draw another Dorito tile and invade, but in reality he actually does not want that. He wants to get a regular city cap simply to cover up that square and not allow for a cow tile to be placed there in the first place. In that case, the only tile that would fit there is the one remaining horizontal splitter, which would complete Tito's city, separated from Red City without completing Red City. In the meantime, a dagger is drawn at the bottom. Well, in the middle, rather, for Tito. So he's 1 tile away from finishing his city, but Vivien uses a curve to try and create an attacking platform against this city, and this already yields results. Tito, of course, needs to build up his city and protect it, cover it up, do not allow invasions from Red. But since this is the cow tile, it now creates some interesting blocking opportunities. So let's say Red decides to go here and create another attacking platform, and maybe Tito covers up or finishes the city. Then, on his next move... Oh, interestingly, I was going to say that Viv could draw a Dorito tile and go over here and commit this square towards a cow tile which is no longer in the deck, thus blocking 2 of black's meeples. But this actually is no longer possible because all 5 field Dorito tiles have gone out. Isn't that interesting? Now Tito gets himself a city cap, and undoubtedly he completes the city. I think he was debating whether it's worth to go over here. I wonder why he would do that. Maybe he just simply decided to rejoice a little bit more for such a good tile before actually placing it there. Now he gets another city cap. Perhaps he could go over here, continuing with his plan, hoping for that splitter tile, or at least threatening that tile. So 14 extra points and the farmer. For the Chilean player, the farmer is really strong. It's worth 9 points. 3 completed cities on the field, potentially some more. Not many attacking squares for the field either. And the Frenchman absolutely would need to tie the field in order to have a shot at winning this game. He's not lost. He has a monastery which is about to get completed. It is going to give him 9 points on the scoreboard and a meeple, and with that meeple he could first equalize the field, maybe by drawing a straight line over here and then another straight line or a curve to connect, or he could just drop a farmer here straight up. That's actually a really interesting move here by the Frenchman. So first of all, the main intention of this move is to try and get a curve and invade the farm like this, so a ninja farmer through the outside of a curve. But this is not the only purpose. We can see that Tito now can easily block by going over here perhaps, and limiting that square to a crossroads, which no longer even exists. Or actually there is one crossroads, but of course it wouldn't even complete the field connection. But even if this farmer gets cut off, it is possible for Viv to use these city caps to increase the value of this field from 0 to 6, whilst also scoring up to 8 points for the cities themselves. Well, actually, this is not true. He can only use the city cap on the left because there's nothing that fits into the square anymore. And the reason why he plays this tile over here is not just for connection, and it's not just for developing a small field. It is also to block this guy over here, which he does not do yet, because I don't think he can afford that based on what's going on the scoreboard. But then it backfires because Tito is able to complete his own city. I wonder if it was better for the Frenchman to use this tile for blocking instead, because this was his intention in the first place. To get a Dorito or a big tile and curve the city of Tito into this blocked square. Instead, both sides exchange completed cities. Only a 4-point difference on the scoreboard. Tito, of course, with the farmer and 2 extra meeples looking incredibly strong. I wonder if he's going to go over here and clean off a city cap in his opponent's field. This certainly would be my first instinct, but a variety of other moves are possible. For example, you can start a new city in your field with the intention of getting another city cap and drop a second farmer upon its completion to support your main farmer. He could even go for self-invasion. So this platform that we have been talking about, he can kind of anticipate that by going over here and dropping a 3-point farmer, which would not allow Viv to go over here and drop a farmer himself. This is not a move that I would recommend, but it's a move that is possible. He simply goes for the standard stuff, takes the 4 points, which is net 1 point because he's giving 3 points to Viv's field. Viv now, out of desperation, drops a ninja farmer to connect through the outside of a curve. That's about as productive a move as it is possible for red in this position. Tito does not get a tile to block. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There, in fact, are no straight lines remaining that fit into this square, so a block is not even possible. So that's some nice recognition on Viv's part. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There is sadly only one curve for the Frenchman to connect, but in addition to the curve, no, there's nothing else. Oh, yes, there is. They are daggers. Daggers plural. 1, 2, 3, 4. So a whole 2 daggers remaining. Isn't that interesting? So actually 3 tiles that fit into this square. So Viv can connect with almost anything. Tito is trying to score a little bit, hoping to outrun any potential ideas that the Frenchman may have about overrunning this field. Because I figured that maybe Viv, upon invasion, would want to save a meeple and drop another farmer. Instead, he starts a city on the top, hoping to get 8 points and a meeple back. And let's see what Tito does. So given his lead, he probably should be able to win this by simply scoring. So going over here, starting a 4-point road whilst also adding a monastery point in the process seems like the way to go. But it could be enticing to go over here and drop a 0-point farmer and try to connect through another ninja farmer on the outside, in which case there would be a risk of losing. There's another rather strong move. Why settle for a 4-point road when we can go for a 6-point road? Why don't we go over here, meeple the road like this, and then force Viv to share all these lucrative road points once red invades the field? Because the only way to invade the field is through this square, connecting the 2 roads, so why don't we go there in anticipation, whilst also putting pressure on this square in red city at the top? This appears the strongest move to me, but he also finds another strong move. He simply takes 3 points for a road, well, 2 points for a road and 1 point for a monastery. But the idea is kind of similar. It's almost complete a monastery, and it forces red to complete black's monastery if red successfully connect. And it also restricts some connection tiles. So we can see that this dagger would not have fit. Vivien gets himself a city completed and a meeple back, and it just so happens that Tito gets all the curves anyway. So this farmer will not be connecting into the field, or will he? Viv still has the tile in hand, and I didn't quite calculate what it is. No, this is not a connection tile, so this farmer will be trapped here at 0 points. And a 15-point field will remain unshared, but I think that even if the invasion were successful, the Frenchman would not have had a chance in this game. After the completion of the leftmost city, the Chilean was just a bit too far ahead on the scoreboard. Yeah, so the Chilean expert is showing us good technique here, how you just keep scoring, using the meeples, and not allow your opponent to overtake you, even with a field. 20 points is the difference. With a bit of a luckier tile run out, maybe the difference could have been 3 or 4 points. But an unwinnable game for the Frenchman nonetheless. And it seems that we are about to see another upset, perhaps. Viv, the rating favorite, but Tito is taking down the first game. The second game has been already created. It should start in a minute or so. Hi Nepamai. Hi AH. Tito is excited about his win. Already wanting to do the rematch without a break. Both players seem to be on the same page, as Vivien really wants to get his revenge. Tito with over 10,000, 13,000 games of experience. I believe that Vivien has even more than that. Let's just check that whilst the players are busy creating the table. No, a little bit less, 12,000. But still, of course, incredibly experienced players. And now the second game has started. The Chilean with a starting player advantage and already 4 points on the scoreboard from the first city. A monastery drawn by Viv, a great tile to control some space. In due course, we're going to see a red meeple here in the center without hesitation. Tito with a curve. Actually a good tile for this position, trying to start a ring road, obstruct the square a little bit. Maybe hoping for a cow tile next to start some blocking. Vivien with a city cap. Probably looking to start a new city like this, breaking the loop of black. This is a typical move in this position. And now black does not have a good response here. Whichever move he plays, they're going to be downside. Now, the move that Tito will eventually end up playing is this move. He's going to go for a 4-point loop road on the other side, while just simply leaving the shielded city tile. Oh, look at this. I got it wrong. So he really prioritizes meepling the shielded city tile, which makes a lot of sense, of course. But the downside is that he's leaving this loop road up for grabs. Neither player are yet drawing a curve. Viv, the first one to take advantage of these 4 points. This, of course, makes the monastery a little bit vulnerable, but not by much. Black is now sticking a road into Viv City. And look at Black's monastery placement. It's super interesting. We've seen this technique quite many times in international play, most notably I can recall the 2022 game from the bronze medal match of the World Team Carcassonne Online Championship between Afonso Cavaco and Vladimir Kovalev, where Afonso sacrificed a rather lucrative monastery point for this sort of 2-point pattern, simply trying to equalize all of these monastery squares. So this sort of move, it minimizes variance a lot. The main purpose of this idea, which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't, it really depends on the situation, is simply to deny your opponent the joy of potentially stacking monasteries. So let's say if red were to draw another monastery to place over here, then suddenly this stacking is not that lucrative, because black is also getting some points in the process. But in the meantime, Vivien is doing really, really well. He's finishing an 8-point city, dropped a farmer with a lot of potential. I guess the one thing which is not great for him is the fact that his monastery is very close to being blocked. There is no way how this meeple is seeing the light of day again. First of all, there are only 2 starting tiles remaining, and he needs both of them. And it seems to me that he's still trying to preserve that 25% chance of drawing both starting tiles and going over here. But in all likelihood, even if he draws one, he won't even bother placing it there, because there's so often other places where you can use starting tiles. In the meantime, Tito with the monastery stacking approach. And here, I'm not sure if it really works. So this is not so much about the stacking, although it is a little bit. So he will benefit from this square. The main advantage of having your monasteries nearby is that there's some squares where you get 2 points instead of 1. And whenever Tito is going to place something over here, he's going to get 2 points. But the downside is this square over here. When Black chooses to continue his monastery, he will be forced to place a valuable city tile in this square, helping Red City. Ultimately, of course, this is a shared city, because Green has a meeple over here, but even if it is a shared city, you don't really like spending city tiles on shared cities. You want to spend city tiles on cities which are your own. In the meantime, Viv keeps scoring, finishes a city, starts a new one, and also it's a very flexible meeple here, so he could just simply go for normal 4 points if he gets a city cap, but if he gets a combo of something like an extender plus a Dorito, suddenly this meeple could start feeling quite invasive and have ambitions against the shared city. Early in the game, expert players really prefer these sort of flexible placements so that they can benefit from their meeple placements regardless of which tile draws they get. Tito starting a 4-point road, building up his monastery. Probably looking to continue what he started by simply going over here, completing the loop, starting a new city at the bottom. The only surprising aspect here is why he didn't play sooner. And just as I told you, look at this. So a starting tile was drawn by Viv, and he didn't even bother trying to finish one of his monasteries just because he doesn't want to spend the tile simply for a 50-50 chance of a monastery being completed. He is okay with burying this meeple, and it is indeed completely deceased. There is no mathematical chance of it ever seeing the light of day again. He just wants to get a meeple back and score as much as possible. And as a result of these quick points, so this road over here, a couple of cities, he's already 16 points ahead on the scoreboard. In the long term, he's down on meeples, but in the short term, he's doing great. Well, look at this. Black with a very interesting move, spending his last meeple, trying to attack a huge ruin, and it works. So now the Frenchman probably will want to do something about this ruin, because towards the end of the game it could be scoring upwards of 20 points, and technically it is not even a ruin because there's still a tile that goes here, a tile that goes here, a tile that goes here. These are 3 unique tiles, of course, but it is actually possible to even finish this city. So not necessarily that Tito will be trying to do that, but at some point Vivien will need to try and block. Tito with a fantastic tile, looking to get one of his meeples back. Either over here for 3 points, but it has the downside of exposing this square to more vulnerability, and that's why he chooses to get 2 3-point roads, gets a meeple back, leave a bit of a gambly 6-point city up for grabs for both sides, but Black is actually more likely to benefit from this city than Red, because Red already needs a city plus road tile to retrieve his dangerously placed meeple at the top. So it is quite possible that Viv might draw something like a starting tile and not go for this city and simply go over here to score 4 points, get a meeple back, all that good stuff, and then Tito might draw another tile such as a dagger or an umbrella tile to go over here and score 6 points. Red is trying to block the monastery over here, but Tito gets a tile which immediately gets him a meeple back, but he's not in a hurry. I think this is a bit too loose. Why not just get a meeple back? I know that this was a precariously placed meeple, but you're not even getting it back. I don't know about that. Well, he now gets a defense. Viv must be frustrated about the fact that he can't even block this square, he can't even punish his opponent for his recklessness. Tito probably looking to score 2 points over here and protect 2 of his meeples indirectly at the same time. and also take out the only exposed rodent in this position. That would be a quadruply powerful move. Glovier is saying, not sure about Black's attempts to block Red's monastery. Lots of value lost and your own monastery might not be completed. Well, I'm not sure, like these... Oh dear, oh dear. These tiles actually kind of made sense. I don't think there were many productive places, although there was definitely a productive place for this tile. Okay, so Black declines the 2-point road, declines the safety of his meeple. I'm not sure why exactly he would do this, but such was the Chilean player's decision. Instead, he went for another city. It actually makes some sense. So this placement over here, of course, aims to complete an 8-point city with 2 more city caps, but this placement is a bit more defensive rather than offensive. He just simply does not want Viv to get a tile that fits into this square. And he does not want him to benefit from 6 points. But from Black's perspective, I really don't like the idea of giving away our meeple advantage. Because now that Red has drawn a crossroads that completes his monastery and expands his field and gives him a lead on the scoreboard, Red in addition has an extra meeple to play with. And I guarantee you that the Frenchman will put that meeple to good use. There are no other threats in the position. For example, this 4-point road is going through Red's city potentially, and if Red is going to get the last umbrella tile, then in addition to getting himself a 4-point city, a meeple back, 3 extra points for the field, he's also going to snatch this 5-point road. So a lot of threats now. A great position for Red. Even though this ruin still belongs to Tito, it now does not score enough to compensate the field and the scoreboard lead of the Frenchman. But you know what will score enough? This city over here. And there's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2 Dorito tiles remaining to complete this city. Tito also with a bunch of other threats. Now looking to place a city cap over here or over here. Trying to complete this city for 16 points. Or 14 rather, but it doesn't matter. And Viv cannot really block that easily. Yeah, sure, he starts a new city or whatever, but there's still plenty of tile that fit into this square, and by plenty, I mean 2. Actually, you know what? 2 is plenty. Because 2 Doritos that fit here, and 2 city caps that fit here, only 1 after Viv has completed his city at the top and meepled a 6-point road. Still a decent position for Tito. He managed to successfully block Viv's city meeple over here. But what do you do if you're the Chilean player? Do you go over here, get yourself a city point? Or do you go over here, drop a city cap next to your monastery, hoping to maybe get another one and score some 4 points? He goes for the former. He does not want to expose empty city caps. This indicates that at least in the Chilean's perception, he's overall ahead. Vivien with a curve. Probably debating between a simple scoring move like going over here or over here, trying to build a big road. Perhaps looking to occupy a 6-point farm on the left. Or he could try and initiate some blocking efforts. Chooses to try and do something about the 1 remaining umbrella tile that Tito could draw. And look at this. What intuition from the French player. Just as Tito was preparing to deliver the final blow by scoring a 3-point road, a 14-point city, and getting himself a meeple back, he is denied. And now the best that he can do with this tile is score 0 points without investment of a meeple. And with investment of a meeple, he's able to score 4. A move that he probably could consider is going over here and not even trying to join the road, but maybe dropping a farmer, a ninja farmer, trying to connect to the 15-point field through the outside of a curve. But before making a decision like this, he needs to think whether it is at all necessary. And I don't think it is. He's 1 point ahead on the scoreboard. He has an 8-point versus 7-point monastery, so he's an extra point ahead. His city over here scores what? 16 points, I believe, so it's also 1 more point than the 15-point field. This 6-point road at the top scores the same as the 6-point monastery. That's cancelled out. And this 3-point city scores less than this 6-point city. So actually the Chilean player is currently 6 points ahead. And he needs not panic. He just simply needs to make normal moves and try and get his game towards a normal win by 3 or 4 points. And if he doesn't do anything crazy, then the best that the French player has to offer is maybe try to develop his field with some more city caps, if there are remaining. And there are remaining. I can see one of those splitters still available. And there are a couple of daggers as well. So Viv could get maybe something like a splitter over here, then gets a dagger, then drop a farmer over here. That would be a 10-point sequence. And then that would put the Frenchman ahead. So the result of this game should be fairly close. It's a very, very difficult tile to play for Tito here. Just because there's no quick point opportunity and it's so counterintuitive. The umbrella tile is probably the most flexible scoring tile in the deck. It has 3 road ends and a city cap. All 4 sides of this tile are screaming quick points, quick points, quick points. Place a meeple on me and get that meeple back, but it is not possible, surprisingly, on this board. Thank you for confirming in the chat that my counting is in fact correct, and Tito got flustered and is in fact trying to lose this game. So his idea is of course rather neat. He's trying to connect to the main field through the 1 remaining dagger tile, but there's only a 50-50 chance of doing so. Why would you ever do that? Fortunately for the Chilean player, he got himself a scoring tile, but now he's only 4 points ahead. Viv took a 6-point farmer. Tito took a 4-point city. With just 1 scoring tile, the Frenchman could really inflict a lot of damage. I wonder if he's going to go over here and maybe meeple the road. That way, if Tito gets a dagger tile and goes over here, he will be forced to free up Viv's road. But if Viv gets a dagger, then he just can go over here. Tito does in fact get the dagger, and he will be invading this field and probably meepling this 5-point road, which means that Viv will have to re-invade somehow, but Viv is already behind 2 points. This 2-point move was not quite enough. That's why I think it was a miss from the Frenchman. If only he had gone over here, he would have had some great chances of winning this game. Now Tito's the one that's going to occupy this road. And there's nothing that Vivien can do, I believe. Even if he manages to reconquer the field, which is a big if, Tito has 8 points extra. He was already 2 points ahead, 1 point for the city and 5 points for the road. Of course, it is unfortunate from the Frenchman's perspective that Black drew the dagger tile in the first place. But certainly he could have averted disaster simply by meepling a long road. And then if that were to happen, he would have had another platform to maybe go and try and farm over here and try to reconnect through the outside of this curve. And in that case, he would actually win the game. And that's why he simply discards a tile. He just does not find a way to invade or to do anything for that matter. Although I think that's a bit much. In fact, he could have invaded the field. Wait. Viv could have scored 17. He could have just gone over here and dropped the farmer for 100% chance to connect to the field. Okay, not 100. But like 50. Well, oh wait, not 50. 33, still good enough, and he would have gotten the tile. So that's actually very interesting. So Viv got 3 instead of getting 17. So just to reiterate again, the move was to go over here, drop a farmer like this, and connect through the outside of a curve. And so if Viv were to do that, he would have gotten 14 points more. By the way, the reason why this move would have made him 17 and not 18, because he would be winning an 8-point field, he would be equalizing his shorter road, his opponent's shorter road with the longer road of himself. Wait, or maybe not. No, he would have made more. Well, this would not have been enough still. He still would have lost by 6 points. So the invasion with a dagger was in fact the final dagger into Viv's winning chances, but a very unusual sequence of events towards the end of the game. First of all, Tito, from a position of strength, being 6 points ahead, decided to just gamble the entire game and go for a coin flip, which then opened the window for Viv to actually try and win this, but then he won the coin flip. And yet, I believe Viv could have won rather easily, actually, had only he used the crossroads over here. Just want to tell you again, so like after this invasion over here, okay, this stuff good, but with this crossroads over here, as red, we just go over here, we meeple a 5-point road. This is our last meeple. If Tito gets this tile, the dagger tile, he goes over here, but then he gives us a meeple back, and then we can still try and use that meeple to reinvade on our last turn, and that was still possible. That was still absolutely possible. With a variety of tile draws, although admittedly not easy, but it was possible. But then if we were to get a dagger successfully, then because of this road end over here, on our next move, from Red's perspective, we would be retrieving a meeple no matter what. And so then this seemingly trap meeple for 5 points would just be a normal endgame scoring meeple, and that would have been enough to outrun black, assuming that black did not connect into the field. So I think a rare misplayed end game by Viv, and also some unnecessary risk from Tito, but he wins. This is the only thing that matters, and Yesterday we had an upset in our midnight Carcassonne session in Carcassonne After Dark, at least if you're the European. So I've already removed this from the scoreboard, but some of y'all will have seen how Crocodile Fundy of the United States defeated the highest rated, or at least then the highest rated player on the platform, Rabbit Rain of Japan, 2-0. And here also the lower rated player, even though of course also an expert, defeats the French master and by far the best player in France 2-0 in just 45 minutes. Hi Kirilo. A roller coaster of a game indeed. Yeah, to be honest, I was a bit rooting for Viv in the second one, simply so that we would get to see a decider. But the Chilean had different ideas. He just decided that he wants to win no matter what. And with that, I believe that he has guaranteed himself a spot in the playoffs. So what is the situation now? So Tito, 3-1 matches, 7 games won and 2 games lost, which actually puts him in the first place in the group, even ahead of Isloon. Well, not necessarily, because Isloon has a match to spare. But assuming that he loses with just any score, then Tito will have a better difference between games won and games lost. Bogdan Korkan with a screen name Game Over could in theory threaten Tito, but the best that he could do is tie. And since he already lost to Tito a couple of weeks earlier, the next tiebreaker after games won and games lost is the mutual duel, and the mutual duel would favor Tito here. So, unless my math is off, with a week to spare, we can congratulate the Chilean player Hector Arce with qualifying for the playoffs, either from the first or second or third spot, but I don't believe there is contesting that. Now, how about a battle for the third spot? Does Viv still have a chance? So he is at 4-6. He had already lost to Game Over. So I believe his last game will be played against, his last match will be played against Shang Yu Chin. That's the player with screen name QAZ and a bunch of other letters. And what could happen there? So let's assume that Viv wins 2-0. That puts him a 6-6. And if Bogdan loses 2-0, that puts him at 5-5. So then if Viv wins 2-0 and Bogdan loses 2-0, then Viv will surge in third place and defeat Bogdan. So this is the only chance. So not everything depends on the Frenchman. But, oh yeah, Bogdan has even a round to spare as well, because he still hasn't played against Ilya Slonimsky. Well, since he's playing the group's leader, it's not unreasonable to assume that he could lose, even though I would probably put Bogdan as the favorite and as the more experienced player. But the results of this group show otherwise, as it is the Israeli who's crushing it. So let's say if Bogdan does lose, they'll be at 5-5. Actually, I think even if he loses with like almost any score, if he loses the next 2 matches, then he's gonna have... no, you know what? So Viv needs for Game Over to lose both of his matches, and one of them needs to be 0-2, and the other one can be either 1-2 or 0-2. because the way the tiebreakers work, I'm not sure what the ordering was, but the first tiebreaker is the difference between games won and games lost. But the next tiebreaker is the number of games won. So if we have a situation where, let's say, Viv wins the next match 2-0, which is still a necessity for him to qualify, he's going to be at 2 wins, 3 losses, 6 game won, 6 game lost. Game over, if he were to lose both of his next game 1-2, both of his next matches 1-2, he would be at 2 matches won, 3 matches lost, 7 games won, 7 games lost. And because he won more games, with the same difference, of course, he would qualify over Viv. The only thing that I want to double check, and I know that my viewers are much more knowledgeable at this than I am, which tiebreaker comes first? The mutual duel, in which case Viv would win over game over, or games won, the absolute number of games won. And in that case, game over would take precedence over Viv. So this is the situation in this group. So far it looks that these 3 guys are extremely close to securing himself a qualification spot. As a result of today's, I'm gonna still call it an upset. Even though Tito is a strong player, I don't think they themselves expected to win 2-0. They might have hoped for 2-1. But Carcassonne is like this sometimes. Tito took some risks and they paid off. Some of them were not necessary, but some of them were really good. For example, this timely invasion of a big ruin worked really, really well. These 2 threats worked really nicely. And one of his ideas, of which I was critical at first, and actually I still am, sacrificing a monastery meeple just to create the threat of 2 cities, it ended up working like a charm, because typically if you create a threat of 2 cities, for which you need different tiles, because he needed city caps here and Doritos here, you end up completing one of them. And because of the size of these cities, just 1 complete city was enough to put him ahead. So this is today's match. Now, before we wrap up, let's have a look at what else awaits us. Well, for those of you who are not into sleeping, y'all can go to Board Game Arena and watch the morning blitz between the German master Wise Maze and the veteran Slovak player Matej Tabak. I don't think I will be waking up for this one, unless, I don't know, some sort of subconscious, if I have some sort of dream that my subconscious will be telling me that it's time to get up and it's such an important match to show, then yes, I will do it. But 7:30 seems to be a bit too adventurous. And then after this, we're going to have a bit of a break for 2 days. There is a piece of content which I'm planning. I'm very close to finishing up a rather lengthy recap of my Mind Sports Olympiad games. In fact, I have finished the video, I just need to upload it properly. And the video is so long, it actually takes a long time to upload it. But it is ready, it is coming up. And then our next proper stream is going to be on Saturday. We actually have several events on Saturday, so we're going to have a look at the Lithuanian expert Kraukle trying to take down the leader of Group A, Hydra Baby of Taiwan. In the evening, Bogdan Korkan in Group B, so that's the group we have just witnessed, will be trying to stop the endless winning streak of Ilya Slonimsky. But between that, an important event, I will be streaming the Mind Sports Olympiad Catan tournament. Either just the playoffs or maybe even the entire tournament. I'ma think about it. But there's gonna be some Catan live content for the first time ever on this channel, actually, on Saturday. So, a lot to be expected in the coming days. Make sure to meeple the like button. Yes, Nico, sleep commenting. Well, at least this is what I'm doing in part now anyway. And I have done this before. Alrighty, that should be enough. Hopefully all of our European viewers are already tucked in. Make sure to have a good, consistent sleep schedule. For anybody who is in East Asia, I hope you have a good and productive day. And a relaxing evening to all our viewers from the Western Hemisphere. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'm gonna see you soon.